Get out of here, you broke man. The words cracked through the store like a whip. Heads turned. Every single one. A woman in a red coat froze mid-reach for a pack of biscuits. A teenage boy looked up from his phone. An elderly man at the far end of the aisle adjusted his glasses as if he needed a better view. You think this is a charity? The cashier continued, her voice climbing, apparently having decided that if she was going to do this, she was going to do it properly. If you cannot pay for your groceries, do not come inside. I will call the police on you. Security. Security, in this case, was a sleepy man by the entrance who had not moved in 40 minutes, and would not move now, but the threat landed all the same. Silence fell over the store like a heavy blanket. All eyes on him. Kong Du-hyun stood still. He was not a small man, not a forgettable one either if you looked past the cheap clothes. There was something about the way he occupied space, unhurried, unshaken, that did not quite match the story the cashier was trying to tell about him. His shoulders were straight, his breathing even. His eyes, dark and steady, moved slowly around the store, cataloging every face that had turned toward him. He said nothing. Behind him, the whispers started, soft and vicious as paper cuts. These types of people, always causing embarrassment. Why come if you know you cannot pay? The audacity. Someone actually tooted, out loud, like a character from a period drama. Du-hyun's hand tightened slightly around the edge of the counter, not in shame, not in anger, in something closer to recognition. He had been in boardrooms where men tried to strip him down with their eyes. He had sat across negotiating tables where lawyers had spent entire afternoons trying to make him feel small. None of them had ever managed it. But this? A grocery store at 6 in the evening, short by a few thousand won, with strangers deciding his character based on his change? This was different. This was real. He exhaled, slowly, placed the basket down with quiet deliberateness. I'll leave, he said. His voice was calm. So calm it made the cashier blink, like she had been expecting him to argue and had prepared a second wave of ammunition she now did not know what to do with. He turned, and then, wait. The voice was not loud. It did not need to be. There was something in it that cut through noise without effort, firm, unhurried, with an undertone that suggested the speaker had absolutely no time for nonsense, but had chosen, on this particular occasion, to show up anyway. He paused, turned, and saw her. She had clearly just come in from outside. Rain droplets clung to the ends of her braids and sat on the shoulders of her jacket like tiny, uninvited guests. Her tote bag was heavy, stuffed to straining, and her eyes held the particular brand of exhaustion that comes not from sleeping badly, but from carrying too much for too long. She was Nigerian. He could hear it faintly in the shape of her vowels before she had even said much. She stood perhaps 5'4", with the posture of someone who had decided a long time ago that the world was not going to make space for her and had simply expanded to take it anyway. Her eyes were sharp, dark, completely, unapologetically alive. She was looking at the cashier. How much? She asked. The cashier blinked as if the question were in a foreign language. What? How much does he owe? A beat, a very deliberate beat. For his groceries. The silence that followed had a different quality now, not the stunned silence from before. This was the silence of an audience that had come expecting a brief, humiliating drama and had just watched the plot twist in a direction nobody anticipated. Du-hyun turned fully to face her. You don't have to do that. She did not look at him. I know. Seriously. I can. I know, she repeated, and finally glanced at him with the particular expression of a woman who has made a decision and does not require input. But I want to. A pause. Then, as if suddenly remembering his presence. And clearly you need it. A man behind them let out a short laugh, the kind that was not quite mean, but was not quite kind either. The laugh of a bystander who thinks he is watching a comedy. Wrong read. Wrong time. She turned her head toward him with the slow, deliberate movement of a woman who has filed a complaint and is now waiting for the resolution. And you?" Her voice was pleasant, dangerously pleasant. "If you have commentary, you are also welcome to pay. If not," a small smile, sharp as a letter opener, "mind your business." The man swallowed his remaining laugh. The cashier, sensing that the social dynamics of the store had shifted in a way she had not approved, scanned the remaining items without further comment. She paid, cash, without looking at the total twice, without sighing, without any of the small performances people sometimes gave when doing someone a favor, to make sure the recipient understood the full weight of the gift. Just paid. When it was done, she picked up the carrier bag and held it out to him. He took it, slowly. "Next time," she said, studying him now with a directness that was not unkind, "don't wait until you're this hungry before coming out." He stared at her. In 30 days of living as a man without money, without his name, without the architecture of power he had built around himself since the age of 22, in 30 days, not one person had looked at him the way she was looking at him now. Not with pity, not with contempt, not with the careful neutrality of someone trying not to make things worse. Just looking at him, like he was a person, like that was a perfectly ordinary thing to do. "Why?" he asked. "Why what? Why help me?" She considered this with the seriousness it apparently deserved. Then she shifted the strap of her tote bag higher on her shoulder and said, "Because I know what it's like." He waited. "Being broke," she continued matter-of-factly, "is not a crime. Acting like you are better than someone because of it, that is the crime." She glanced briefly at the cashier. Some people have not figured out the difference. The cashier found a very interesting smudge on the counter to examine. Du Hyun almost smiled. Almost. He had not smiled genuinely, not with his whole face, not the kind that started somewhere in the chest, in a very long time. He had smiled strategically, smiled to close deals, to disarm opponents, to give people the impression of warmth without actually extending any. This was different. This was the small, involuntary thing that happened when the world surprised you. "Most people don't think like that," he said. She looked at him with the expression of someone who has heard this observation before and found it, each time, slightly exhausting. "Most people," she said, "are not me. I'm starting to notice that." "Good." She adjusted her bag again. "You're a quick learner." And she turned to leave, because of course she did. "Wait." She stopped, turned back with the look of a woman who has places to be and is offering exactly this much more of her evening and not a second further. "What?" He hesitated. It was the kind of hesitation nobody who knew him would ever believe. Kang Do-hyun, who had walked into rooms full of hostile shareholders without a flicker of uncertainty, briefly, genuinely unsure of himself. "Can I at least know your name?" She studied him, the way a person studies a door they are not sure whether to open. She took in the messy hair, the tired clothes, the groceries in the plain carrier bag, and because she was the kind of person who looked past all of that, the eyes, still, steady, watching her with an attention that had nothing performative in it. "Amara," she said, a beat. Then she pointed at him. "You." Do-hyun. A small nod. Then, with the faintest suggestion of a smile, the kind that arrived late and left early, like it had not quite meant to show up. "All right. Do-hyun who cannot pay for noodles." The smile widened just a fraction. "You are welcome." She walked out. The rain had not let up. It fell in the particular steady way of soul rain that had decided it was in for the night. The street outside the grocery store gleamed under the lights, and the few people hurrying past had their heads down, umbrellas tilted against the wind. She was standing under the narrow awning when he came out, adjusting the straps of her too heavy bag with the practiced efficiency of someone who had been carrying too much for too long and had simply gotten good at redistributing the weight. He stood beside her, not close enough to crowd, just there. "You didn't look at me like I was less," he said. She turned. Her brows went up slightly. "Should I have?" "Most people did." "Most people," she said, with the serene confidence of someone who had long since stopped measuring herself against the majority, "are very boring." She glanced at him sideways. You were already going through enough. Why would I add to it? That landed differently from anything else she had said. Warmer, more deliberate. He paused, searching for the word, unusually decent. I prefer human. Right. A pause. I forgot what that looked like for a while. She looked at him properly then, not the quick, assessing glance from the store, but a longer look, the kind that meant she was actually listening. Something in his voice had shifted. The calm was still there, but underneath it, just visible, was something that had not been performing. Do you always talk like that? He asked. Like what? Like you're gently correcting the world for getting things wrong. She laughed. It was soft and a little tired and completely genuine, the laugh of someone who found things funny despite everything. Not because everything was fine. Someone has to, she said. The world has been wrong about a lot of things for a very long time. Somebody ought to keep notes. And that's you. On a good day, she shifted her bag again. On a bad day, I just go home and eat crackers and watch Korean dramas and pretend the world is someone else's problem. He blinked. That's remarkably specific. I am a remarkably specific person. He nodded, slowly, like he was filing this away somewhere important. Then, and this was the thing he had not expected, the thing that had been quietly building since the moment she stepped forward in the store, he said, I'm glad it was you. The words were simple. He said them without performance. She looked at him. For just a second, just one. Something passed across her face that was not the brisk, self-possessed composure she had been wearing since he met her. Something softer. Something that arrived and departed so quickly he almost missed it. Almost. Careful, she said, recovering with the smoothness of long practice. You might start liking me. His gaze held hers, steady, unrushed, like a man who, for the first time in 30 days, was not calculating anything at all. I already do, he said. The rain fell between them. He had spotted the payphone on his 3rd day of living this life. It had become, without ceremony, his most reliable connection to the world he had left behind, a battered gray relic that smelled faintly of old conversations and still, miraculously worked. He walked to it now. She watched him. You're serious, she said. It was not quite a question. I don't have a phone. He lifted the receiver. Not at the moment. She stared. There was a long pause in which she appeared to be reevaluating several things. You are committed, she said finally. I will give you that. Most people fake broke. You are method acting it. Method acting, he repeated, fully in character. No phone, no money, eating noodles. She tilted her head. What is next? A dramatic revelation that you are actually a prince. A faint smile touched his mouth. Just the edge of one. Something like that. She laughed again. That same soft, tired, genuine sound. Sure, she said. That is what they all say. He held the receiver, looked at her. Can I have your number? Another long pause. The kind that felt like a whole conversation happening at a frequency only she could hear. Then she stepped forward. She took the receiver from his hand. Her fingers brushed his briefly, warm against the rain-cold air, and she dialed without breaking eye contact. She handed the receiver back. If you call, she said quietly, and it rings. A small pause, something careful in her eyes. Then you're lucky. He took it. I think, he said, I already am. She looked at him for a moment longer than she needed to. Then she pulled her jacket tighter, turned up her collar against the rain, and walked away, for the 3rd time, down the wet, lamplit street, her too heavy bag on her shoulder, her braids beaded with rain. He watched her go. Around him, the rain, the city, the low hum of soul at night. In his hand, a payphone receiver with a number he had not yet written down. In his chest, something he had not felt in a very long time, the distinct, inconvenient, entirely unscheduled sensation of wanting to see someone again. Kang Do-hyun, who had spent 30 days trying to prove that love was possible without money, who had nearly convinced himself his friend was right, that he was nothing stripped of his wealth, that the experiment was a slow, humiliating failure. stood in the rain, and for the first time since the bet began, he was not thinking about winning. He was running out of time to prove that love was real, but she had already changed the game. She almost did not pick up. That was the truth of it. The number was unfamiliar, the hour was unreasonable, and Amara Osei had a firm personal policy about unfamiliar numbers at unreasonable hours. She let it ring once, twice, 3 times. She turned over in bed and pulled the blanket higher and told herself that whoever it was would give up. It rang a 4th time. She picked up. It rang, said the voice. Low, unhurried, with the particular calm of a man who had not been remotely uncertain that she would answer. So I guess I'm lucky. Amara sat up. Rain was tapping lightly against the window beside her, the same rain that had been following Sol around all week like an uninvited house guest. She pressed the phone to her ear and stared at the ceiling and told herself she was not smiling. She was not smiling. You really called, she said, aiming for unimpressed and landing somewhere in the vicinity of reluctantly charmed. I said I would. Most people say things they don't mean. A pause, not the uncomfortable kind, the kind that meant he was considering this seriously, as if her observation deserved actual thought rather than a reflexive response. I'm not most people, he said, so I'm learning. Another pause. Outside, the rain shifted, a little harder, a little more insistent. She leaned back against the headboard and allowed herself, just briefly, the small smile she had been resisting. He could not see it. That made it acceptable. All right, she said, keeping her voice light. What do you want? Silence. Then, simply, a date. She blinked, opened her mouth, closed it. In the brief internal courtroom of her mind, several arguments presented themselves simultaneously, and none of them quite made it to her lips, because the word had been delivered with such unshakable straightforwardness that she found herself temporarily disarmed. With what money? She asked. A cheap one. She laughed. She had not meant to. It came out before she could stop it, soft and genuine and slightly exasperated, the kind of laugh a person produces when they realize they're dealing with someone who is going to be a problem for them in the most inconvenient and interesting way. Fine, she said, when she had recovered her composure. But if you embarrass me, I am leaving you there. I mean it. I'll take that risk. You say that now. I'll say it tomorrow, too. A beat. Good night, Amara. She pulled the phone away from her ear and looked at it for a moment, the way a person looks at something they're not entirely sure what to do with. Good night, she said, and she fell asleep, still thinking about it. The place he chose was not a restaurant. It was a stall, the roadside kind, the sort that had been in the same spot so long it had become part of the street itself. A small empire of plastic chairs and portable gas burners, and a laminated menu with photographs so faded they required imagination as much as appetizing description. The woman running it had the efficient warmth of someone who had fed half the neighborhood for 20 years and expected to feed the other half in the next 20. It was, Amara thought, possibly the least impressive date venue in the whole of Seoul. It was also, she realized within about 4 minutes, exactly right. There was something about sitting on a plastic chair under a canvas awning, while steam rose from a bowl of soup that stripped away every layer of performance a person normally brought to a first date. No ambient lighting to hide behind. No expensive menu to use as a conversation prop. Just 2 people, warm food, and the low hum of the city moving around them. Do Hyun ate like a man who had recently remembered that food existed and was taking the reunion seriously. She watched him. You eat like you haven't seen food in days, she said. I haven't, he replied without looking up. She set down her spoon. You're joking. A small pause. Partly. What is the other part? He looked up then. His eyes were calm. Always that particular steadiness, like water that ran very deep and very still. The other part is that this soup is genuinely excellent, he said, and I would be eating it with this exact enthusiasm regardless of my recent dietary history. She picked her spoon back up. You're strange. You came anyway. I told you. I came for the food. The food at a stall you'd never been to, chosen by a man you'd known for 48 hours. She pointed her spoon at him. Don't analyze me. I'm not analyzing you. I'm just noting the facts. The facts, she said, are that this soup is very good and I was hungry, and the company is, she paused, visibly deliberating, tolerable. Tolerable. He repeated it like a man filing the word away for later examination. Don't push it. He almost smiled. She caught it, the small, almost there thing at the corner of his mouth that she was beginning to recognize as the fullest expression of amusement he typically allowed himself, and filed it away in return. They talked, not about big things, not at first, about the stall and the soup and the particular excellence of food that cost almost nothing and tasted like someone had put actual care into making it, about the neighborhood, and the way Seoul at street level was a completely different city from Seoul glimpsed from above, about small irritations and small pleasures, about nothing consequential. It was, Amara thought, the best conversation she had had in months. And maybe the company, she added quietly, somewhere near the bottom of her second bowl. She had not intended to say it aloud. It slipped out, honest, unguarded, the kind of admission that happened when a person had stopped performing and was simply present. He caught it. Of course he did. His eyes found hers across the small plastic table, and for just a moment the easy back and forth of their conversation paused, like a song reaching a held note. Something shifted. It was small. It was enormous. It was the particular feeling of a door opening onto a view that was larger than the room suggested. Neither of them said anything. The stall owner refilled their tea without being asked, moving through the moment with the dignified indifference of a woman who had seen many first dates at these plastic tables and was not going to make a fuss about another one. After that night, he was simply there. Amara had spent long enough in Seoul to know how the city swallowed people. You could go weeks without seeing a face you recognized. People moved through their own orbits, contained and separate, the way large cities train their inhabitants to be. Connection was a transaction. Presence was scheduled. Do-hyun appeared to have not received this memo. He was outside her workplace one afternoon when her shift ended, not waiting in the obvious way, not standing at the door with the self-satisfied air of a man expecting credit for showing up, but simply there, leaning against the wall down the street, reading a discarded newspaper with the focused attention of a man who had nothing better to do and was making the most of it. She walked up to him, folded her arms. Are you stalking me? He turned a page. No. Then, how did you know I'd be here? You told me where you worked. Day before yesterday, when you were complaining about the shift schedule. She remembered this now and found it slightly annoying. So you're just jobless? A faint smirk crossed his face, the second genuine one she had observed, rarer than the almost smiles and worth significantly more. Temporarily. That is a very unbothered response for someone with no income and a noodle dependency. I'm an unbothered person. I'm starting to think unbothered is just the origin story of a man with a secret, she said. Like you're going to turn out to be a disgraced nobleman or something. A disgraced nobleman, he repeated thoughtfully, folding the newspaper. Or a spy. Or someone in witness protection. Which would you prefer? She considered this with genuine seriousness. Nobleman, she decided. More interesting wardrobe potential. He laughed. A real one, short, quiet, the kind that escaped before a person could decide whether to allow it. She stored it somewhere private and pretended she had not noticed. She did not walk away. He fell into step beside her, and they walked. And she told herself it was simply convenient because they were heading in the same direction, which was not entirely true, but was close enough to serve. The day in the park arrived the way good days sometimes did, without announcement, through no particular planning, almost accidentally. The sun was out, genuinely out, the warm, low, unhurried kind that Seoul produced in small quantities and which its residents treated like a minor miracle. The park was full of the particular contentment of people who had been rained on for too long and were now accepting sunlight with the reverence it deserved. They walked slowly. There was no destination, no agenda, no time pressure creating its usual background hum. They had been talking for 20 minutes about something she could not even now remember. One of those conversations that moved through topics the way a river moves, continuous and unforced, when her hand slipped into his. She was not entirely sure when it happened. One moment her hand was at her side, and the next it was in his, warm and easy, as if it had simply decided to be there without consulting the rest of her. He did not pull away. He did not tighten or squeeze or make any of the small adjustments that would signal surprise or calculation. He simply held it, carefully, the way a person holds something that matters to them without wanting to make a production of the fact that it matters. "You're getting comfortable," she said, keeping her voice light, testing the temperature of the moment. "You let me," he said. She opened her mouth to reply. Something quick, something that would reestablish the comfortable banter and move them back onto safe, familiar ground. And that was when the car appeared. It pulled up too fast, too deliberately, the kind of arrival that was designed to be noticed. A sleek black vehicle that belonged to a different stratum of the city entirely, its engine a low purr of restrained expense. The window descended. The man inside was around 40, dressed in the careful way of someone whose wealth was old enough to no longer need to shout. He wore it like a second skin. The cut of the jacket, the watch, the settled confidence of a man accustomed to rooms rearranging themselves around his entry. He looked at Amara, not a glance, a full, assessing look, the kind that decided things. "You," he said, "why are you walking under the sun with him?" The silence that followed had a particular texture. Du-Hyun's grip on her hand did not change, did not tighten, did not loosen. He simply held it, steady and unchanged, as if the question had not been asked. "Come with me," the man continued, his voice acquiring the smooth, reasonable tone of someone who expected the answer to be obvious once the offer was properly framed. "I'll take care of you properly." Amara turned to look at the man in the car. Slowly, very slowly, with the particular patience of a woman who has decided that what she is about to say is going to be worth taking the time to say correctly. "Excuse me," she said. The man laughed, a light, indulgent sound that suggested he found her reaction charming. "You deserve better than this." A brief glance at Du-Hyun, dismissive, thorough. "Look at him." Amara's eyes went to Du-Hyun, then back to the man in the car. Then she stepped forward slightly, hand still in Du-Hyun's, not letting go, making sure that was visible. And she said in the pleasant, precise tone she reserved for occasions that required maximum clarity, "You see this man? He has more dignity standing in the sun than you have sitting in that car." The man's smile did not disappear. It thinned. "You don't know who I am." "I don't care who you are," she said. "I know what you're not." A beat. The pleasant tone sharpened, just at the edges. Respectful. The man's jaw tightened. He looked at her for a moment with the expression of someone unaccustomed to the particular experience of being dismissed by the person they were attempting to collect. Then his gaze moved to Du-Hyun, slowly, scanning the way a man looks when something has snagged his attention without his permission. It stopped, at his wrist, at the tattoo. "That tattoo," he said, slower now. Something in his voice had shifted from dismissal to something more careful, more calculating. "It looks familiar." Du-Hyun said nothing. "I've seen it before," the man continued, leaning slightly forward now, studying, "on one of the richest men in Seoul." He let that sit for a moment. Then a short laugh, a different one from before, uncertain at its edges. "But obviously that can't be you." Silence, heavy, particular, the kind that meant things. The man waited for a response, did not receive one. The window rose. The car moved away, slow and deliberate, the way expensive things moved when they wanted to make departure look like a choice rather than a retreat. Amara watched it go. Then she turned to Du-Hyun. "What was that?" "Nothing." That was not nothing. Du-Hyun. He was looking at the road where the car had been, his expression unreadable in the way it sometimes became. Not blank, but closed, like shutters drawn across a room that was still fully furnished and lit. "It's just a tattoo," he said. She studied him, the straight posture, the still hands, the absolute refusal to shift or fidget or fill the silence with something easier. She thought about the payphone and the worn shirts and the way he held space without effort and the strange, persistent feeling she had that the man in front of her was either very simple or extremely complicated. She strongly suspected the latter, but she also knew that some things revealed themselves in their own time, and pushing rarely helped. And trust was something you built in layers, not demanded in one conversation on a sunny afternoon in a park. "You're weird," she muttered, and let it go. "I've heard that before," he said, and he almost smiled, and she did not push. But she did not forget. She invited him back that evening. It was not a grand gesture. It was practical. Her apartment was close. She had not eaten properly, and somewhere in the walk home after the park the conversation had simply continued without either of them deciding to end it, until they were at her door, and it seemed more natural to keep going than to stop. He looked around when he came in. She watched him do it, watched him take in the small apartment, the carefully organized economy of it, the way she had made the most of limited space, the plants on the windowsill that she talked to when she was tired, the desk in the corner buried under textbooks she had not been able to return to in 18 months, the stack of bills held down by a mug, the whole honest architecture of a life being held together with determination and minimal margin. Most people looked at her space and saw what was missing. She was used to it. He looked at it as if he were reading something. "You don't have to pretend here," she said, dropping her bag by the door, kicking off her shoes, moving into the kitchen to fill the kettle. The familiar ritual of it was comforting. "It's small, I know. I'm not pretending," he said quietly. "Good. Tea. Please." She made tea. He sat on the small sofa without being invited and did not take up more space than he needed, which she appreciated. The evening settled around them, the city's noise filtering through the window, the kettle clicking off, the particular quality of shared quiet that meant two people were comfortable enough to not fill it. "I couldn't finish school," she said. It came out without preamble. She had not been planning to say it, had not been planning to say anything personal, had in fact been about to ask him something light about whether he preferred his tea strong. But the day had been long, and the apartment was warm, and there was something about the way he sat that made performance feel unnecessary. He looked at her, waiting. "I ran out of money," she continued, wrapping her hands around her mug. "Fees piled up. Rent followed. There's this idea, when you leave home, that if you just work hard enough, everything sorts itself out." She paused. "It does not sort itself out. It just becomes a different kind of difficult." "What were you studying?" "Biochemistry." She said it with a complicated mixture of pride and grief. "I was going to do research. Drug development. Something useful." A small laugh, tired at its edges. "I thought coming to Seoul would change everything. New city, new start, the whole idea." She looked at the window. But survival looks the same everywhere. Just different currency. Silence. He was quiet for long enough that she glanced over to see if he had retreated behind the shuttered expression from the park. He had not. He was watching her with the full attention she had noticed the first day, that quality of listening that had nothing performed in it, that made a person feel genuinely heard in the rare way that was distinct from merely being responded to. "You're doing more than surviving," he said. "No." She shook her head. "I am precisely surviving. I know what that looks like, and I am currently doing it. There is nothing more being done. You paid for a stranger's groceries when you had nothing extra to spare. That was... You defended me in public when it would have been easier to walk away. I have a loud mouth, that's not. You're here," he said simply, "still, after everything. That is not just surviving." Her voice cracked. It was small, just the faintest fracture in the careful composure she wore like armor. But it happened, and there was no taking it back, and she was suddenly aware that she was more tired than she had acknowledged, and more lonely than she had allowed herself to name. And this man who was not supposed to matter was sitting on her sofa, saying things that were going directly past every defense she had built. He moved slowly. Everything he did was slow, deliberate, unhurried, as if he had decided each action was worth the full attention of the moment. He reached out. His hand found her face. Gently, the way you touch something fragile, not because it is weak, but because it deserves care. His thumb moved, barely, and she realized there had been a tear she had not noticed. "You are stronger than you think," he said. She looked at him. They were close. She was not sure when that had happened. The slow, unannounced closing of distance that sometimes happened in small apartments in quiet evenings. The way two people who had been circling each other found themselves suddenly, undeniably near. "You are not what you look like," she said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. She was not talking about the clothes. "No," he agreed. "And you still stayed." He did not answer with words. He did not need to. His hand was still gentle against her face, and his eyes were on hers with the same quality of attention he had given everything about her since the moment they met, and she understood that she was being seen. Fully, honestly, without the edits people normally made when they looked at someone they wanted something from. She leaned in. He did not move back, did not hesitate. His hand shifted, barely, to her jaw, and his eyes stayed on hers until the last possible moment, and then their lips met. Slow, careful, the kiss of two people who understood, without saying it, that this was not the beginning of something casual. Neither pulled away. Outside, the rain had started again. Light, steady, the city's familiar percussion against the window. Inside the small apartment, in the warm quiet, something had shifted that could not be unshifted. He had come to Seoul to prove something about love. He had not expected to find, in a broke woman in a small apartment with plants on the windowsill, something that made the proof feel beside the point. He had started the game to find love, but now he was risking everything not to lose it. Morning came, quietly, the kind of quiet that settled over a city like a held breath, before the traffic started, before phones buzzed to life, before the whole insistent machinery of the day turned itself back on. The kind of quiet that made a room feel like a parenthesis in ordinary time. Kang Do-hyun was already awake. He lay on his side, the thin blanket pulled to his waist, and he watched her sleep. He was not performing tenderness. He was not constructing anything. He simply watched, the way a person watches something they're afraid will not be there if they look away. Amara slept with the complete, trusting abandon of someone who had finally put down a weight. Her face was different like this. In waking life, it carried so much. The quick assessments, the guarded edges, the dry readiness for whatever the world was going to try next. All of that was gone. What remained was something undefended and entirely itself. And it was the most honest thing he had seen in years. He had slept in hotel suites that cost more per night than she earned in a month. He had woken beside women who had carefully arranged themselves for his attention before opening their eyes. He had never once felt, in any of those mornings, the particular ache he felt now in this small apartment with its second-hand furniture and the plants on the windowsill and the stack of unpaid bills held down by a mug. He had never felt less like leaving anywhere. "You deserve more than this," he said, quietly to the room. To her. To himself. She did not stir. "More than me." The words settled in the air and did not dissolve. Because the problem, the real problem, the one he had been circling since the first night he met her, was not the lie exactly. The lie had seemed simple at the start. A temporary identity. A social experiment. The kind of thing that made for a good story at the end. The month he lived without his name and found what he was looking for. But the story had stopped being a story somewhere along the way. He thought about calling his friend, telling him, "You were right that money changes how people see you. You were wrong that love requires it." He thought about the bet, the 30 days that were nearly finished, the world he would return to, the name he would put back on like a suit. He thought about her face when she laughed. He thought about how she had handed him money from her own thin wallet because someone had helped her, and she believed that was simply how the world should work. He exhaled slowly and did not move. Outside, a sparrow landed on the windowsill, looked at the plants, found them unsatisfactory and departed. Seoul began its morning, and Kang Do-hyun lay still beside a sleeping woman and felt, for the first time in a very long time, entirely and terrifyingly present. Are you watching me sleep? Her voice arrived without warning, low and unhurried, tinged with the particular amusement of someone who had been aware for longer than they were letting on. He went very still. No. One eye opened, dark, sharp, already gleaming. You are a bad liar. I was watching the window. The window is behind you. A pause. I was thinking about the window. She made a sound that was half laugh, half fond exasperation, and stretched a full, unself-conscious stretch, arms above her head, the kind of stretch only people comfortable in their own skin produced. Then she turned onto her side to look at him properly, her cheek resting on her hand. Good morning. Good morning. She studied him for a moment with a look he was coming to know well, the one that meant she was reading him, filing things away, not yet decided what to do with what she found. Then she sat up and clapped her hands once, with the decisive energy of a woman who had shifted gears and was not going back. All right, today you are cooking. He blinked. Cooking. Yes, breakfast. For both of us. You are a grown man, Do-hyun. Grown men can make eggs. I don't cook, he said. She tilted her head. Everyone can cook eggs. I genuinely don't cook. Then what do you do when you're hungry? He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again, and then, quietly, with the precise intonation of a man who had not quite thought through the next 4 words before saying them, he said, I have chefs. The silence that followed lasted approximately 1.5 seconds. Then Amara burst out laughing. Not a polite laugh, not the soft, contained sound she sometimes produced when he said something that surprised her. A full, helpless, wiping her eyes laugh that filled the small apartment and made the plants on the windowsill seem to lean in slightly. Chefs, she managed. You have chefs. This man, no phone, no money, eating noodles from a bag, has chefs. Where are the chefs, Do-hyun? Should I call them? Are they hiding in the bathroom? He watched her laugh. He did not correct her. He did not explain. He simply sat in her laughter and let it wash over him and felt something in his chest that he had no accurate vocabulary for. A warmth, an ache, a kind of happiness that had an edge of grief in it because it was already clear to him that he was going to have to lose this, and he did not want to. Fine, he said when she had settled. I'll make the eggs. She wiped her eyes. You don't have to. I was testing you. How did I do? Imaginative, she said, patting his arm with great solemnity as she climbed out of bed. Very imaginative. I respect the creative vision. He made the eggs. They were objectively adequate. She ate them with the gracious diplomacy of a woman who understood that effort counted and was not going to let the result diminish it. Not bad, she said. Liar, he said. She smiled into her tea. He thought, I would like to see this every morning. And then he thought, he left her apartment that afternoon. Quietly, the way he had been moving through this whole month, without announcement, without the gravitational pull of a man whose presence, normally, preceded him into rooms. He walked the streets of the neighborhood, hands in his pockets, and let himself think. The problem had structure, at least. He was good with structured problems. She needed money. Real money. Not the careful, dignity-preserving amounts she managed to scrape together month to month, but the kind that would clear the debt that had been quietly strangling her life for 18 months. The school fees, the rent, the accumulated weight of a life interrupted mid-stride. He had that money. He had more of that money than she could probably conceptualize as a real number. That was not the problem. The problem was that if he gave it to her as himself, as Kang Do-hyun, whose name she did not yet know meant anything, whose actual life was so far from the man she had met in the grocery store that the distance between them would land like a wall. She would ask questions he could not yet answer without destroying everything. But anonymously, he stopped walking. Anonymously, it was simply help. Someone in the world had decided she deserved it and had acted accordingly. She would not need to reconcile it with anything. She would not need to recalibrate her understanding of the man beside her. She could simply be relieved, for once, without it costing her anything. He took out the phone he kept for emergencies, the one he had not told her about, the one that lived at the bottom of his bag like a trapdoor back to his real life. And he made 2 calls. The envelope arrived the next morning. Amara found it slipped under her door, plain and white, with no return address. She stood in her kitchen in her pajamas, holding it for a long moment, turning it over, reading the absence of information on it the way a person reads something they are afraid to open. She opened it. The check was real. She checked 3 times. The amount was not, it could not be. It was the exact sum of her overdue rent, to the number, as if someone had consulted the landlord's own records. The note attached was brief, 4 words and a dash. For your rent, from an anonymous. Her hands were trembling. She sat down on the floor, not for dramatic effect, simply because her legs had made a unilateral decision and the floor was there. She sat and held the check and the inadequate little note, and she felt something move through her that had no clean name. Relief so large it was almost painful, the particular release of a pressure that had been building for so long she had stopped noticing it was there. She had been strong. She was always strong. She had made a personal policy of strength, of forward motion, of not sitting with problems longer than necessary, of treating every obstacle as a logistical challenge to be solved rather than a source of grief. She sat on the floor of her kitchen and cried, just briefly, just until the first wave of it had moved through. Then she wiped her face, stood up, looked at the check again, and said aloud to the empty apartment, "Who are you?" The apartment did not answer. She found him later that day at the small park near his temporary room. She had learned his habits by now, the routes he walked, the benches he preferred, the particular quality of his stillness when he was thinking. She was glowing. That was the only word for it. The specific luminosity of someone from whom a great weight has been lifted, who is still slightly dazed by the lightness. "Guess what?" she said, stopping in front of him. He looked up. He already knew. He kept his face carefully neutral. "What?" "Someone paid my rent." She said it like she still could not fully believe the sentence. "An anonymous person. This morning. The full amount, everything I owed." She shook her head slowly. "I have been behind for 4 months, Du-hyun. For months. And now it's just gone." "That's good," he said. His voice was steady. "Quiet. Good." She looked at him with bright, slightly wet eyes. "It's not good, it's like someone reached into my life and removed the thing that was going to break me." She laughed a little unevenly. "I don't even know who it was. I don't know how to thank them. I don't know anything except that this morning I woke up, and for the first time in a long time I didn't immediately feel afraid." He looked at her. He thought, this is why. He thought, I would do it again. He thought, I am in serious trouble. Then she reached into her bag. He watched her pull out a small fold of notes. Not much by most measures, but he understood immediately what it represented. He had spent a month learning the precise mathematics of her life. He knew exactly what she had and what she was offering. "Here," she said, holding the money out to him. He frowned. "What is this?" "For you." She pressed it into his hand before he could step back. "I've seen you, Du-hyun. I know you've been struggling. You eat 1 meal a day when you think I'm not noticing. You re-wear the same 3 shirts. You make excuses when I suggest going anywhere that costs money. Amara." "Someone help me," she said, simply and finally, with the calm of someone stating a principle that required no argument. "So I can help you. That is how it should work. That is how the world should work." She paused, even if it usually doesn't. He stood with the money in his hand and felt something crack open somewhere behind his ribs. He had been given money before. He had been given a great deal of money before in a variety of contexts, by a variety of people with a variety of motives. It had never felt like anything except a transaction. This felt like being trusted. This felt like being seen. This felt like a woman who had almost nothing looking at him and deciding that what she had was worth sharing. Not because it would benefit her, not because she expected anything in return, but because someone had been kind to her and she believed, with a directness that made him slightly ashamed of how long he had spent not believing it, that kindness was meant to move. "You're not real," he said quietly. She laughed. Here we go again. Last chapter it was strange, now I'm not real. Du Hyun, I am standing right in front of you. I know, he said. He was not laughing. I know you are. Something in his voice made her go still. She looked at him, the full, careful look she gave things she was trying to understand. Then she stepped forward and pressed a soft kiss to his cheek, her lips warm against his skin for just a moment. Stop being dramatic, she said quietly, and eat something tonight. Then she walked away. He stood where she had left him, the small fold of money in his hand, and understood that he was no longer playing any kind of game. 3 days later, her phone rang. An administrative number. The university. Miss Osei, I'm calling about your account. I wanted to let you know that your outstanding balance, including the fees from the last 2 semesters, has been cleared in full. She sat down. I'm sorry. An anonymous donation was made to the university, specifically designating your student ID. Your account shows a 0 balance. You are clear to re-enroll for the upcoming semester if you choose. The line was very quiet for a moment. Miss Osei, are you still there? Yes, she said. Her voice was strange in her own ears, thin, slightly displaced, like it was coming from somewhere slightly to the left of where she was standing. I'm here. Can you tell me anything about the donor? I'm afraid the donation was made anonymously. We don't have any information to share. She thanked them. She ended the call. She sat without moving for a very long time. The rent, now the fees, both anonymous, both exact, both appearing at precisely the right moment, as if someone had mapped her problems with the thoroughness of a person who had full access to the details. She thought about the man in the park with the sleek black car and the way his eyes had stopped on Du Hyun's tattoo. She thought about the chef's comment, delivered with the uncorrected ease of a man who had simply forgotten, for a moment, which version of himself he was performing. She thought about his hands, the way they moved, unhurried and precise, like someone who had never needed to rush for anything. She went to speak with the woman at the university's donations office, just to ask, just to understand. The woman mentioned it almost as an aside. A tall Korean man came in personally to arrange it. Very handsome. Quiet. He had a tattoo here. She touched the side of her own neck. Amara said, "Thank you for your time." Outside, she stood on the pavement and looked at nothing in particular. Then she shook her head. "It can't be him," she said. But the question did not leave. It simply moved to a quieter room in her mind and waited. The job application was her idea. She had been genuinely trying to help. The cleaning company she worked for was expanding, and she had thought, he needs income. I know of an opening. This is practical. She brought him the form with the brisk efficiency of a woman doing someone a favor and not planning to make it sentimental. "My workplace is hiring," she said, handing it across. "You should apply." A faint smirk crossed his face. He took it, sat with it, filled it in with the focused attention he gave everything, as if even this form, this basic, practical piece of paper, deserved his full presence. He signed it and handed it back. She glanced at it to check it was complete, and stopped. The signature. She had seen that handwriting before. The particular angle of it, the way the letters connected, the precise pressure. She had held it in her hands and cried on her kitchen floor. Her heart dropped through the floor. She looked up. He was watching her. He had been watching her read it. His expression was still. That particular stillness she had mistaken for peace and now understood was the stillness of a man braced for an impact he had known was coming. "Who are you?" she said. The words came out quiet, almost gentle, the quiet of someone asking a question they have already half answered. He said nothing. "Du Hyun." Her voice tightened. "Who are you?" Before he could respond, before whatever he had prepared himself to say could find its way out, a voice came from behind them. "Mr. Kong." They turned. The manager of the building stood in the doorway. A man Amara had worked beside for 8 months without incident, wearing an expression she had never seen on him before, the particular expression of someone who has just registered something entirely outside their expectations and has not yet recovered. He looked at Du Hyun, then looked again, then said with the careful precision of a man rechecking his own perception, "It's really you." Amara looked at the manager. "You know him." The manager made a sound that was almost a laugh. "Know him?" He shook his head slowly. "Miss Osei, this is Kong Du-hyun. He owns 7 companies in Seoul. He's a shareholder in this building. He has—" The manager paused, as if editing himself, as if the full list would simply take too long. "He has more power in this city than most people will ever know about." The silence was total. Amara did not move. She stood with the job application form in her hand and felt the world tilt. Very slowly, the way it tilted in the moment before you understood something you could not take back. She looked at Du Hyun. He was still watching her. He had not looked away. He had not moved toward the door or reached for an explanation or deployed any of the tools a powerful man might use to manage the moment. He simply stood and let her see him. All of him, the real version, the one that had been behind the worn shirts and the payphone and the groceries he could not afford, and waited. "I was going to tell you," he said. The manager had excused himself with the sensitivity of a man who understood he had stumbled into something private. They stood in the corridor. Just the two of them, and the space between them felt different now, charged with everything that had been building under the surface of the last weeks. When her voice was careful, controlled in the way that meant she was holding something large and was not yet ready to let it move. "After the rent? After the school fees? After I handed you money from my own wallet like—" She stopped, pressed her lips together, "like I was the one who could afford to help. I know. You let me feel sorry for you. That's not. You watched me worry," she said, and the control slipped, just at the edges. "About you. About whether you were eating, whether you had somewhere to sleep, whether— I spent time on you, Du-hyun, real time, real concern, and the entire time you—" "I know," he said again. The word was not defensive. It landed like what it was, an acknowledgement, clean and unqualified, with no attached excuse. He stepped forward. She stepped back. He stopped. "I started this before I met you," he said. The words were careful, chosen the way a person speaks when they understand that what they say next determines everything. "A bet. A month without my name, my money, my world. I wanted to know if I could be seen, actually seen, not for what I owned or what I controlled, just seen." She stared at him. "The first 29 days proved my friend right," he said. "Nobody. Not one person." His jaw tightened slightly. "And then you stepped forward in a grocery store and paid for instant noodles and spoke to me like I was a person, and I couldn't treat that as data. I couldn't categorize it and move on." "So you stayed," she said. "Not warm. Not yet. I stayed because of you. Not the bet. Not the experiment. You." He exhaled. "I didn't want to leave your world. I didn't want to go back to mine." For the first time in a very long time I felt, he searched for the word, and she could see him looking for it, genuinely, without performance, normal, human, like the version of myself you saw was the one worth being. Tears had found their way down her face without her permission. She was angry about that too. "You lied to me," she said. "Yes. Every day. Yes. And you didn't stop when you could have." He looked at her. His voice came out quieter than anything he had said before, stripped down to the plainest, most undefended version of itself. "I was afraid to lose you." She shook her head. "You already did." The words were not dramatic. They were not delivered with heat or performance. They were just true and quiet, and they landed on him with the particular weight of a truth that could not be argued with. He stood very still. She stepped back, then further back. Her jaw was tight, her eyes bright, her hands at her sides. The posture of a woman holding herself together because she had learned, a long time ago, that the alternative was not available to her. "I don't know who you are," she said. "Amara." "Don't." The word was clean, final, a door. She turned and walked away down the corridor, and he stood and watched her go, and did not follow because he understood that some things had to be allowed to happen at their own speed, and that the most honest thing he could do now, the one true and decent gesture left to him, was to let her walk. He stood in the empty corridor for a long time. Around him, the building's quiet hum, the faint sound of the city outside. Inside him, the specific, undeniable ache of a man who had everything, had built an entire life around having everything, and had just understood, finally, fully, too late, what it felt like to lose the one thing that mattered. He had pretended to be poor to find love, but the truth was the one thing that destroyed it. 3 days. That was how long it had been. Amara knew because she had been counting, not deliberately, not with any drama attached to the counting, but the way a person counts the days after something significant happens, whether they want to or not. The way the body keeps its own calendar regardless of what the mind decides. Next customer. She moved, scanned, begged, smiled at the woman who wanted her loyalty points applied before the discount and not after. Listened to the manager's voice cut across the floor. Sharp, possessive, the voice of a man who had confused authority with aggression so long ago he could no longer tell them apart. Amara, are you sleeping on your feet? We don't pay people to daydream. Sorry, she said. The word came out automatic, worn smooth by repetition. She was not daydreaming. She was remembering, which was different. Daydreaming was something light and voluntary. This was the involuntary kind, the replay that arrived without invitation and stayed, regardless of whether you had room for it. I stayed because of you. She pressed her lips together and scanned the next item and told herself, for the 100th time, that she had done the right thing. That walking away from a man who had built an entire false version of himself and presented it to her as real was not a loss. That her anger was justified. That justified anger did not require the addition of grief to be valid. And yet, here the grief was anyway, sitting in her chest like an uninvited guest who had brought luggage. The glass doors opened. She did not look up immediately. The doors opened 30, 40 times a day. She had learned to stop registering it. But the store changed. It was subtle at first, a quality of stillness that moved through the space like a current. Conversations pausing midward, a woman near the fruit display stopping with her hand around an apple and simply not completing the motion. The manager, mid-lecture to a shelf stacker, went quiet. Footsteps, measured, unhurried. The footsteps of someone who had never needed to rush for anything and had stopped pretending otherwise. Amara looked up. Kong Do-hyun walked toward her through the supermarket in a tailored black suit that fit him the way expensive things fit people who have always worn them, as if it had simply grown there, as if anything else would have been the aberration. 2 men flanked him at a respectful distance, silent and watchful. His posture was the same. His eyes were the same. The steadiness, the unhurried quality, the sense of a man who occupied his own space completely. All of it was exactly as she had known it. Everything else was different. She understood, seeing him like this, that she had always been looking at the real him. The worn shirts had been a costume. This, the suit, the presence, the room rearranging itself around his entry. This was simply the costume being removed. He stopped in front of her counter. "What are you doing here?" she said. Her voice came out quieter than she intended. He looked at her the way he had always looked at her, fully, without the small edits people made when they were performing attention rather than actually paying it. "I came for you," he said. "You shouldn't be here." "I know." Then, "I'm sorry." The words landed without preamble, without the architecture of justification that usually preceded them when powerful men said them. Just the 2 words, plain and undefended, spoken in the voice she had heard in the dark of her small apartment. Not the controlled voice, not the public one, but the real one, the one that had told her she was stronger than she thought and meant it. Her throat tightened. "I should have told you the truth," he continued. The store was very quiet now. She was distantly aware of this, of the customers who had stopped moving, the staff who had found reasons to be nearby, but it felt far away behind glass. "I should have trusted you with it, from the beginning, before it became something I was protecting instead of something I was ashamed of." Why didn't you? She asked. The question was genuine. She had been carrying it for 3 days. Because you were the first person in a very long time who looked at me and saw a person, he said. Not a name, not a balance, not something to be managed or obtained. He paused. I was afraid that if you knew, you would look at me the way everyone else does. And his jaw tightened slightly, and she recognized it now for what it was. Not coldness, but the effort of a man who did not easily speak this plainly. I couldn't go back to that. Not from you. A tear slipped down her cheek. She had not given it permission. I felt stupid, she said, when I found out, like I had been caring about someone who wasn't real. Everything was real, he said immediately, with a certainty that was not performance. Every conversation, every moment, every time I laughed with you, which, for the record, I had not done in a very long time before you. A beat. The only thing that was false was my name, and the name was never the part that mattered. It mattered to me, she said, because I didn't choose it. You chose it for me. You decided what I got to know. He did not flinch from that. Yes, he said, I did. And I have spent 3 days understanding exactly what that cost you, and I am not here to argue that it didn't. She looked at him. You didn't fall in love with a rich man, he said. His voice was very quiet now. You fell in love with me, before you knew what I had, before you knew what I was worth to anyone else. You chose me when I was a broke man in a grocery store who couldn't pay for noodles. A small, unguarded thing crossed his face, something she had seen only in the apartment, only in the unguarded hours. That is the only thing anyone has ever given me that I could not buy. The tear was followed by others. She stopped trying to prevent them. I don't care if you love me as a rich man or a poor one, he said. He stepped closer, slowly, giving her every opportunity to step back. She did not step back. I just need you to love me as me. For a moment, she simply looked at him. This man who had walked into her life in the wrong clothes at the wrong moment and refused, quietly and persistently, to be anything other than exactly what he was, even when what he was had been carefully concealed. She closed the distance. She pulled him in by the lapel of the suit that cost more than her rent and kissed him the way you kiss someone when you are angry and relieved and still hurt and also, irreducibly, glad they came back. He kissed her back with the whole of his attention, the way he did everything, fully without reservation, like she was the only thing in the room worth focusing on. The store was completely silent. Amara! The manager's voice cracked across the floor, like a ruler on a desk. Is this a romance or a workplace? Get back to your... Do Hyun turned, slowly, the way he did everything, with the absolute, unhurried calm of a man who has never once needed to raise his voice to be heard. The manager stopped talking. Do you always speak to the people who work for you like that? Do Hyun asked. His tone was pleasant, conversational. Somehow this made it worse. The manager blinked. She works for me. One of the two men behind Do Hyun stepped forward. The ownership of this property transferred this morning, he said, with the flat efficiency of someone delivering a weather report. Mr. Kong is your employer. The silence that followed was the particular silence of a man realizing, in real time, the full dimensions of a mistake he cannot take back. Amara stared. Do Hyun had already turned back to her. He reached into the inner pocket of his jacket and produced a set of keys, ordinary-looking, the kind that opened ordinary doors, except that she understood now that nothing about this was ordinary. He placed them in her hand. His fingers closed briefly over hers. You told me once that you were tired of just surviving, he said, that you came to Seoul to build something and instead spent every day holding the pieces together with both hands. He looked at her steadily. I can't give you back the time, but I can give you this. She looked down at the keys, looked up at him. Do Hyun. It's yours, he said simply. Do with it what you want. Sell it, run it, turn it into a biochemistry lab. I don't care. It's not a gift with conditions. It's just, he paused, and for the first time she saw him search for words the way ordinary people search for words, without the composed efficiency he usually carried. It's just what I wanted to do. Her hands were shaking. The keys were warm from his pocket. You didn't have to, she whispered. I know, he said. A small smile touched his mouth. The real one, the one she had catalogued from the beginning, rarer than the others, worth more. I wanted to. There is a difference. She looked at the keys for a long moment. Then she looked at him, the full, unhurried look she gave things she was deciding to trust. This doesn't change what I feel, she said. He waited. What I mean is, she took a breath. I didn't fall for a building or a check or a man in a suit. I fell for someone who stood in the rain outside a grocery store and said he already liked me. She held the keys up, slightly. This is generous. It's overwhelming. But it's not why I'm standing here. Then why are you? He asked. And for just a moment, she saw it clearly. The thing beneath all the stillness. The thing he never let surface in public. The man who had spent 30 days pretending to be nothing because he was not sure anyone would choose him if he was. Because, she said, I chose you before all of this, and that means I get to choose you after too. He took her hand, intertwined his fingers through hers, carefully, the way he had always held things that mattered to him, like they deserved the full weight of his attention. No disguise, no borrowed name, no carefully constructed distance, just them. Let's go, he said. She picked up her bag from behind the counter. She did not look at the manager. She walked around the till for the last time, past the shelves she had stocked and the floors she had swept and the small, grinding daily reality of a life held together by will and very little else. She walked out beside him into the sole afternoon, her hand in his, the keys in her pocket, the city opening out around them the way cities do when you're no longer simply trying to survive them. Behind them, the store hummed back to life. Someone laughed. The manager found something urgent to attend to. Ordinary time resumed. Ahead of them, everything else. He had pretended to be nothing to find love. In the end, she chose him when he became everything.